Everyone, in today's video we are going to see about the intercostal arteries and intercostal nerve. We are in the intercostal spaces now. So intercostal spaces, we have already seen the contents of the this intercostal spaces. What are the contents? Muscles are over in the previous video, so it is part 3 of intercostal spaces. So today we are going to see about the intercostal nerves and intercostal arteries. So first about intercostal nerves. So these intercostal nerves we will study under different headings like introduction, then course and relation, branches and distribution, and finally applied anatomy. Okay. Before we see this intercostal nerves, we'll have a look over this typical spinal nerve. Okay, suppose here is the transverse section of the spinal cord. Okay, so here is the transverse section of the spinal cord. Gray matter is S shape having anterior horn and the posterior horn, okay, with central canal. And here you get, here is the dorsal root, ventral root, dorsal root with ganglia unite to form the spinal nerve which comes out through the intervertebral foramen. This spinal nerve immediately, so here is the spinal nerve, immediately it gives rise to the ventral and the dorsal ramus. So this is the dorsal ramus which passes on the dorsal aspect and divides in the medial and the lateral branches. One branch is cutaneous and one branch is muscular. This is now yellow color what I am drawing now. This is the ventral ramus which passes forwards, as the name suggests. It passes to the ventral aspect. It passes to the ventral aspect of the body, and then on either side near the midline it continues as the anterior cutaneous nerve. Suppose if we draw here the sternum will be somewhere here. So in the midline here will be the sternum. Okay, this is sternum, and this actually the ventral ramus. So this is the ventral ramus of the spinal nerve. Ventral rami of the thoracic nerves T1 to the T11 spinal nerves, they are called as the intercostal nerves because they traverse in the intercostal spaces, so they are called as the intercostal. So intercostal nerves are nothing but the ventral rami of T1 to T11 spinal nerves. T12 nerve is not intercostal but it passes below the last rib, so it is called as the subcostal nerve. It is subcostal nerve. Out of T1 to T11 you get this T4 to T6 nerves are called as the typical intercostal nerves, and the remaining are called as the atypical intercostal nerve. The reason is typical intercostal nerves supply only the region of thorax, so they are called typical. Now atypical, we'll see. Now T1 now, it is atypical. Why? Because it forms the lower trunk of brachial plexus and supplies the upper limb. T2 now, it's a lateral cutaneous branch. It forms the intercostobrachial nerve, supplies the skin of axilla and medial side of arm. So T2 is also atypical. Like that, occasionally T3 now also give rise to the intercostobrachial nerve. At the same time, if you see T7 to T11 nerves, in addition to the thoracic wall, they supply the anti-abdominal wall. So even those nerves are called as the atypical nerves. Okay, now we will see the next course and relations of this intercostal nerve. So in the introduction you will say ventral rami of T1 to T11 spinal nerves are called as the intercostal nerves. Typical are T4 to T6, remaining are atypical. Now we will draw here the 3 layers of the muscles present in the intercostal space. Here suppose is the outermost muscle. Okay, this is the outermost muscle. So this is the external intercostal. This is external intercostal muscle, and anteriorly it continues as the anterior, or you can say the external, this is called as the anterior or external intercostal membrane. It is membranous in the anterior part, which already we have seen in the those muscles. Now inner to that you get the internal intermuscular internal intercostal muscle, and this muscle is fleshy in the anterior part, while posterior part of the muscle is replaced by the membrane, and this membrane is called as the internal or also called as the posterior intercostal membrane, and this muscle is internal intercostal muscle. Okay, and innermost muscle you get, that is a transversus thoracis muscle. Suppose if I draw this transversus thoracis muscle is over here, so behind the sternum here, this is the sternocostalis part, and this major part is intercostalis intimi. This is intercostalis intimi muscle. Okay, now inner to that, here you get, inner to this you get the endothoracic fascia, which I am drawing as a dotted line, endothoracic fascia, and inside that you get the parietal pleura. So this is parietal pleura. So here, now if you see the course and relation of this intercostal nerve, so at first the nerve lies along the lower border of the numerically corresponding rib. If it is the third intercostal nerve, it is related to the lower border of the neck of the third rib. Likewise, so first it lies along the lower border neck of the numerically corresponding rib, and then it runs between this parietal pleura and internal intercostal membrane, and then it enters in the this costal groove, where it lies between intercostalis intimi and internal intercostal muscle, and in the groove it has the relations with the intercostal vessels from above downward, vein, artery, nerve. So nerve is the lowest structure in the that costal groove. When it reaches the sternum, it pierces this internal intercostal muscle, it pierces the anterior intercostal membrane, and then continues as the anterior cutaneous nerve. That is the course and relation of this intercostal nerve. Now for the branches, so for the branches, here I will draw a diagram for the branches. Suppose here is the suppose thoracic vertebra. Here you get, this is the area of thoracic vertebra or the vertebral column you can say. Okay, and if I have to draw the rib, it is like this. Suppose here is one rib and here is the another rib. Okay, you know the parts of the rib. Imagine here what I have drawn. This is the now posterior angle. This is posterior angle and this is the rib. Okay, and these are connected through the costal cartilages to the sternum. So suppose these are the costal cartilages, and through this costal cartilages these ribs are connected. Suppose imagine this as the sternum. So this is sternum. Okay, this is the sternum, and here you get, this is the costal cartilages. So here you get, this is the costochondral junction. This junction is called as the costochondral junction. Okay, if you draw the nerve, it is like this. In the intercostal space, the nerve is the lowest structure, right? So it is passing like this. It passes in the intercostal space like this and then pierces. Here it becomes cutaneous, and this is actually the anterior cutaneous nerve. This is anterior cutaneous nerve. Okay, now if you see the branches, will now divide the branches in the three groups. The branches in the three groups. Suppose the branches are muscular. Which are the muscular branches? Three sets we will describe. So muscular branches actually arise from the main trunk of the nerve, and these branches which arise from the main trunk supplies the intercostal muscles of the same space. At the same time, it gives rise to one branch, that is the collateral branch, and this collateral branch arises near the posterior angle of the rib. Then it runs in the same intercostal space it runs downwards and then runs along the upper border of the lower rib in the same neurovascular plane, and when it reaches the costochondral junction of the lower rib it unites with the main trunk, or it may continue as the additional anterior cutaneous nerve. So this branch is the collateral branch, and this collateral branch, when it runs in the space, it supplies the muscles of the same space. So these are the two nerves, two branches of the nerve supplying the muscles. Then the other set we will see the cutaneous branches. So cutaneous branches. So there are two. Anterior cutaneous, as you know, nerve itself continues as the anterior cutaneous nerve and supplies the anterior aspect of the thorax, and lateral cutaneous nerve. This lateral cutaneous nerve also arises at the same plane, at the posterior angle, at the level of posterior angle, and the nerve runs along with the main trunk. Okay, if I draw here, it arises from the intercostal nerve, runs along with the main trunk, and when it reaches the mid-axillary line, it pierces the internal intercostal and external intercostal muscle and then becomes cutaneous by piercing the other muscles and divides in anterior and posterior branches. So this branch is actually the lateral cutaneous. This is lateral cutaneous nerve. Okay, so here also it will be like this. So this is lateral cutaneous nerve. So these are the two cutaneous branches, and then you will see the next set, it gives rise to the communicating branches. Communicating branches again we will divide in the two sets. Communicating branches to the sympathetic chain. Actually, if you draw the sympathetic chain, it will be somewhere here. So this nerve lies in front of the sympathetic chain, connected to it by the gray and white rami communicants. So they are the communications, and then it is communicated with the adjacent intercostal nerves in the posterior part of the intercostal space. So that is about the branches. So branches we divide like muscular, cutaneous and communicating branches. Now coming to the applied aspect. In some diseases like Pott's disease, or in fibrositis Pott's disease, or fracture of the rib, when there is a irritation of this intercostal nerve, there is a severe pain along the distribution of this nerve, which is referred even to the anterior aspect of the trunk, and that pain is called as the girdle pain or root pain. That pain is called as the root pain or girdle pain. Sometimes there is a pus formation here at the thoracic vertebra in the Pott's disease. These pus may it may pass along this neurovascular plane and may find its way at the exit of the either lateral cutaneous nerve or at the anterior cutaneous nerve. So it may point in the mid-axillary line or just lateral to the sternum. And in one condition called herpes zoster, so if there is herpes zoster of the sympathetic chain, there is a vesicular eruption in the dermatome of the intercostal nerve. Okay, and there is a severe pain along the distribution of the same intercostal nerve. And one more you can say, block of this intercostal nerve. Intercostal nerve block is done in the posterior part of the intercostal spaces. So that is all about the intercostal nerve. So we have seen like introduction, then course and relations, then branches and applied aspect. Now we will see about the intercostal arteries. So for the intercostal arteries, so here intercostal arteries will actually, this intercostal arteries, they are in the two sets. There are two sets of the intercostal arteries, anterior intercostal arteries and posterior intercostal arteries and the posterior intercostal arteries. So if you see here, this anterior intercostal arteries, total number, how many are present? So actually there are 9 pairs. There are 9 pairs of the anterior intercostal and 11 pairs of the posterior intercostal arteries. Why? Because here the last two spaces 10th and 11th are open anteriorly because of the 11th 12th rib are floating, so they don't require anterior intercostal artery. There is no anterior intercostal artery in the last two spaces. And number in each space, how many are there? Number in each space how many are they? So the anterior intercostal artery are 2 in number in each space and posterior are 1 in number. Okay, now if you see the origin, of these arteries, so for the anterior intercostal, first to the sixth, they are the branches of internal thoracic artery. And 7 to the 9th, they arise from the musculophrenic artery. So that is the origin of the anterior intercostal arteries. If you see the posterior intercostal arteries, first and second, they are the branches of superior intercostal artery, which is the branch of costocervical trunk, which in turn is the branch of subclavian artery. And third to the 11th, they are the branches of descending thoracic aorta. So that is about the origin. Now if you see these anterior intercostal arteries, actually they are very short and small in size, while here the posterior are long and even they are large in size. Now coming to the course and relations. For the course and relations, here as these arteries are very small, I will just tell that they end at costochondral junction. Anterior intercostal arteries, they end at the costochondral junction. Suppose if I draw here the internal thoracic artery, here this artery is the internal thoracic artery. This is internal thoracic artery, and this internal thoracic artery give rise to the anterior intercostal arteries, which are 2 in number, upper and lower anterior intercostal arteries. See, they are very small and they end at the costochondral junction. How? We will see that later. Now if you see for the posterior intercostal artery, the course we will divide in the 2 parts, at the vertebra and in the space, in the intercostal space. What are the relations? So at the vertebra, because this thoracic aorta lies near the vertebra, thoracic vertebra. Suppose if I draw here is the thoracic vertebra, body, transverse process, spine. Okay, and here the thoracic vertebra lies, on the left side of the midline. Suppose this is the left side and this is the right side. Okay, and here you get the esophagus. Here will be the esophagus tube. So this is esophagus, and just behind that, here you will get the thoracic duct. So we will draw, this is thoracic duct. And on the right side, here you get the vein, and this vein is the azygous vein. This vein is azygous. On the left side, you get this vein is hemiazygous vein. And still to the lateral aspect, here you get the sympathetic chain, right and left sympathetic chain. Now posterior intercostal arteries mainly are the branches of descending thoracic aorta, and when they arise, they will pass like this. So this is the left posterior, and on this side here you will get the right posterior intercostal arteries. That means if you see the length of the right posterior intercostal arteries, they will be longer than the left posterior intercostal, because aorta lies, this is the aorta, lies on the left side of the midline. Posterior intercostal arteries of the right side, they pass behind esophagus, thoracic duct, azygous vein and right sympathetic chain, while the left posterior intercostal arteries, they pass behind the hemiazygous vein and left sympathetic chain, and then they enter the costal groove. Before they enter the costal groove, again they lie between parietal pleura and internal intercostal membrane, like now, and in the groove they lie between the intercostalis intimi muscle and the internal intercostal muscle with the same relation. So here if you draw the relations, first you get vein, then you get here the artery, and then is the nerve from above downwards. Okay, so now that is about the course and relation. Now coming to the branches, as such here you don't get any branches, but for the posterior intercostal arteries, yes, there are branches. So dorsal branch, first you say there is a dorsal branch which passes, suppose if this is the artery, this is the posterior intercostal artery. This posterior intercostal artery gives the dorsal branch which passes dorsally to supply the thoracic vertebra, spinal cord and the muscles and skin of the back. Okay, so this is dorsal branch. Then you get the collateral branch. You get the collateral branch which accompanies the collateral nerve, and this also arises at the posterior angle of the rib. It accompanies the collateral nerve and runs in the same space along the upper border of lower rib and ends by anastomosing with this lower anterior intercostal artery. Okay, while if you see this posterior intercostal artery, it continues here in the space and ends by anastomosing with upper anterior intercostal artery. Okay, so that is about collateral branch. Next branch you get lateral cutaneous branch. It also arises at the same level, that is at the posterior angle, and it passes along with this lateral cutaneous nerve and pierces the muscles at the mid axillary line. So same course, and then here you get third, fourth and the fifth intercostal, posterior intercostal arteries. They give branches to supply the mammary gland. They supply the mammary gland, and on the right side, the third posterior intercostal artery give rise to the right bronchial artery, and lastly muscular branches. It give rise to the muscular branches to supply the muscles of the intercostal space. So that is about the branches, and lastly we will see the applied aspect of this artery. So arteries in the coarctation of aorta. Coarctation of the aorta is the condition where it is constricted, aorta is constricted. That time these posterior intercostal arteries, they are very much enlarged and produce notching of the rib. They cause the notching of the rib. So costal groove is very deep, called notching of the rib. And second is the paracentesis thoracis. So paracentesis thoracis is the condition, or you can say is the method of aspiration of pleural cavity, paracentesis thoracis, and it is not done near the posterior angle because the artery passes obliquely upwards from below near the posterior angle, and it is done in the mid axillary line. So that is about this intercostal arteries. So intercostal arteries, when you say anterior intercostal, posterior intercostal, anterior are 9 pairs and the posterior 11 pairs. In each space anterior are 2 in number, upper and lower, posterior only 1. Origin of the arteries you have understood, course, branches and applied aspect. So that is about intercostal nerve and intercostal arteries. For the intercostal vein and the lymphatics, we will see in the next video. Thank you.